got a 2013 Ford F150 Platinum, full-wheel drive, running 305 5520 Nitto Terra grapplers on a 2-inch leveling kit. I'm going to be doing a walkthrough and a detailed process of removal of the bottom metal bumper and replacement with an aftermarket ranch hand bumper. As you can see here, I sustained an impact to my driver's side front right there by the fog light due to ice. I hit a barrier at about 15 miles an hour. It crumpled the metal, but it didn't mess up any of the frame bracketry or anything like that. So instead of paying a body shop $1,000 plus to replace the stock factory bumper, I'm going to replace it with a ranch hand. So I'm going to be doing a walkthrough and a detailed process of it. When I was trying to find information on how to remove all of this, there's very few videos out there on YouTube. So I figured this would be a good informational, plus it'll be a good look for anybody that has the Platinum with the white tri-coat paint code UG, to kind of get an idea of what it's going to look like on the vehicle. First thing you got to do to get the process started, you got to remove the 3 bolts that hold the headlight in. You got one right here, and you have one right here, one right here. Those take 10mm bolts, so go on and remove those, so that way you can take out both headlights, and you can better access all the fasteners located behind the upper lip, and that way you don't have to remove this whenever you remove the metal. You want to disconnect all your electrical connectors, and that way you can just set your headlight off to the side and not have to worry about anything. Electrical connectors may differ. I have the factory projectors, so yours may be different. I'm gonna go on and take off the hood release mechanism. You're gonna have one bolt here, which is gonna be a 10mm socket, and then you're also gonna have 2, one on each side, that are gonna take a 5/16. Along with the disassembly of the upper cap from the metal bumper, I went ahead and disconnected the fog light plug that runs down to my aftermarket fog light bulbs. And you're also gonna want to remove a 10mm bolt right here that takes a 10mm socket. There's one right here, and there's one in the same spot on the other side that you're gonna have to remove in order to separate the two. After removal of the last 2 identified bolts, your upper cap should be loose from your metal structure. Then you're gonna move into removing the actual bumper bolts that hold it to the bracket. Those are gonna take a 21mm socket, do it by hand, but luckily for me, I got a cordless impact. Once you get the 4 bumper bolts that go into the frame brackets off, simply pull it right off. As you can tell, the upper cap stayed, and it's actually pretty rigid, so I could probably drive around with it until I get my bumper installed. I got the factory bumper all taken off and everything. I'm opening up my ranch hand, and I will tell you what, this thing is packaged like it's some precious cargo or something. I mean, these brackets are stout, and the powder coat of this thing is just unreal. It's starting the installation process of the ranch hand bumper. You're gonna grab your frame side brackets. Follow your instructions. They'll show which bracket goes on which side of the frame. And then also, I've got the corresponding hardware that goes with it. Make sure you put the lock washers on. Once you get the frame side brackets on both sides, just put them snug where you can still adjust them up and down. I'm gonna go over here to my big old pile of parts, and I'm gonna assemble my factory fog lights. You may not have factory fog lights, but all the ranch hand bumpers come with the bracketry and the bolts for the fog lights. So I disassembled the factory fog light brackets from the actual housings, and then I followed the instructions that ranch hand provided, and I connected it all into the bracket that it was supposed to be, and I went on and bolted it in on both sides. I left it just a tad bit loose so that I can go in and do fine-tune adjustments if I need to. So one thing I want to point out is that if you don't have tow hooks from the factory, you're going to have to use the ranch hand supplied bracket and bolts to bolt in through the bottom of the bumper into the frame. Now if you do have the factory tow hooks like I do, you can either reuse your factory nut retainer and bolts, or you can use the supplied ranch hand, and you can notice that the grade 8 bolt slips perfectly through. It'll fit right through, and I believe the grade 8 bolt is going to be stronger than the factory. To help me get this up here, I went on and attached the bottom brackets of the bumper to the frame using the supplied 1/2-inch bolts that take a 3/4 inch socket. Like I said, I used the grade 8 bolts and I went through my factory tow hooks and it works perfect. So the next bolts you're gonna have to tighten up is gonna be a 1/2-inch bolt up there, and then your 1/2-inch bolts on either side of your front frame plate on both sides. Moving right along with the instructions, I went on and attached the relocation bracket for my hood release with the supplied hardware. You can see it down in there. And then I went on and attached the hood release to the bracket. Now, in order to get the supplied bolt through the hood release, you're gonna have to drill out the hole to a 3/8 inch hole. Just be prepared to do that. So here we go. We got the finished install product for the Ranch Hand Bullnose for a 09 through 14 F-150. As you can see, it looks pretty good with it. And like I said in the beginning of the video, I have a 2-inch leveling kit. So it brought it down right about level, as I was about 1/4 of an inch high with my factory bumper on there.